Welcome to the Strategy Mob Podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Guys.
Hey, what's up, gentlemen?
I've been looking forward to this like all week long. I'm so glad it's Friday. I was sitting back and I was like, it was New Year's and like everyone was counting down until the ball dropped. I was counting down until I got to talk with you guys. Just throwing it out there.
That's awesome, man. Wow. Dude, I'm loving the studio, man. That's pretty dope.
Dude, it's all about, hey, 2020 next level, right? I went out and bought this mic just for you. Does my voice sound sexier? What's up, Herb?
Yeah, man.
What's going on?
Sounds real good, man.
Are you at the top of the Blue Jays Stadium in Toronto, Jason?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm top of the Blue Jays Stadium. It's how I roll, man. I just got this beautiful, background back here, and it's one of those really cool backgrounds that, whenever you get bored, you could just be like, now I want to be in San Francisco. And I'm just like, that's pretty cool. And then like when I really feel like on top of the world, I'm like, hey, guys.
Yeah.
I know people are listening to this have no idea what they're seeing right now, but I'm changing the background, so it's fun.
Oh, that's cool, man. Good stuff. Sean, what's up, man? How are you, dude?
I'm fantastic, man. I've spent the last week doing 1/5 strategies and goal setting with dealers, employees, and managers from coast to coast. So it's been really inspirational, and everyone's really excited for 2020. So my spirits are high right now, and I'm grateful and honored to be co-hosting this. Jason Harris, I'm a big fan and a friend of his, and I'm excited to be on this podcast with you guys, man.
Oh, I'm totally excited to jam with you guys. So you've been traveling a lot, man? A lot of flying, a lot of driving?
Oh, yeah, all over the map. You know the deal.
Yeah.
Boston to California.
How's the new car, by the way? What did you get again? I forgot.
Got a G90, actually.
You went with the G90. Like, did you go with the 19, the big discount? Or did you go with the new body, the 2020?
No, actually, I found myself a really low mileage certified pre-owned. I'm a bargain hunter. It's just.
I know, that's true. Did you get like the big 5-liter in it? Big beefy V8?
You know what? I was going to go with the V8, but I decided to just go with the V6 because I do a fair amount of driving. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a little, I know this is a little eco-friendly. Plus the V6 really moves, man.
It is. So this is what happens when you get a bunch of car guys in the room.
Exactly. We're just going to talk about.
we just get like a random. Like, just hey, so how's your mother?
Well, Herb, we'll let you take it away, my friend.
All right, let's do this deal. So let's kick it off with your background, dude. So I've heard you talk about it a couple of times, but I think it's such a powerful story that you have, and I want to make sure that. For people that are tuning into you for the first time, which I don't know how that's even possible because you're everywhere. But yeah, man, kick us off with that.
Okay. So, I've been in the car business now almost 18 years, kind of crazy to think, and it's now 2020. But I pretty much started as a salesperson and worked every single role you possibly could at a dealership, from salesperson to floor manager to sales manager to GSM. I spent times in the parts department as an advisor. I spent time in the service department. I even went upstairs and spent some time in the admin department. I was a general manager. And then I did something really kind of crazy and it was like, okay, I need to go buy my own dealership. Then I became a dealer principal. I had a great time doing that. Then I had 3 little kids. And that can be fun and challenging, especially when they're like so close to each other. My kids right now are 4, 6, and 8. So it was a hell of a holiday season for me. And like everybody's just like totally sick right now. So it's just like one after another after another. You know what? I love the retail side of the business. I loved being a principal of a dealership. It was an amazing opportunity for me. It just wasn't necessarily it didn't fit the bill as far as being a father of a young family and being a dealer principal at the same time. So I had to, one thing had to kind of give, decided to give up the dealership portion, sold the dealership, started an agency, been running an agency now for a bit, having a ton of fun doing that, just kind of navigating through marketing and operations and how everything kind of connects with each other. Huge now on video, as you guys might be able to tell, but you know, that's become a very substantial part of our business is now video production for dealerships.
Yeah. You did something interesting with your agency too, that I wanted to bring up here. And you kind of flipped things. And at some point you got rid of like altogether sales, and then you went towards content creation. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and why you decided to make that move?
Well, you know what? It kind of came from that core principle of like, you know, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is kind of crazy. And I hired what I thought was like the A team of a sales team. You know, these people were going to go out there, they were going to kick down doors, they were going to take names, they were going to sell my services, and it was going to be absolutely amazing. You know, I probably invested over $1 million just in payroll for these guys. And to be honest with you, they barely produced what they actually ended up costing me. And I was like, this doesn't work. And I started taking a look at the whole vendor and dealer client relationship. And it's like everybody was doing it the exact same way. Everybody had either boots on the ground, you know, banging on doors, or people in a call center dialing for dollars. And I was like, there has to be a different approach to create a relationship and develop clients. So I literally bagged my entire sales team. I have no outside sales team. And because it's almost 3 years now, about 3 years ago, I just deep dive straight into content and decided that for me to create a connection with the dealership, I needed to provide them value before I had the right or the opportunity to ask them to sit down and actually review what my products and services were. So I did that through content. I started off by just putting a GoPro on the window of my car and just driving around and using my phone. And then that evolved to a 2-person team. Now that 2-person team is a 6-person team. And, you know, last year we finished off with a little over 2,000 videos that we edited and produced, and 167 podcasts in 9 months.
Wow. By the way, beyond, you know, you are a beast on your social media. I saw your social media calendar that you had posted, and it was, I mean, it was awe-inspiring, right? You know, and I think I post a lot. When I saw that, I kind of felt a little sad about myself. But that being said, beyond your videos, though, man, you bring value to the dealerships on their showroom floors. And you know, one of the things, you know, you had invited. I was blessed enough to be able to join you in Toronto and speak.
That was a lot of fun.
Stadium for a bunch of your dealers. That was amazing. But you know, for you to put that on, just the time and effort that goes into putting on a get together like that, a speaking event, is, I know exactly what that's like for, so the value you bring there. And then the next day you and I did a ride along, and I remember we visited a couple stores of and one of them, you had been working with some of the salespeople even, and some of the managers, and they weren't even a client of yours yet, and you were trying to help them. So I really respect people that bring that value first. And that's one of the reasons why I'm proud to call you a friend.
Well, and I think we're very like-minded like that. You know, when you came up here and you spent some time and you sat down with some of my dealerships, you know, your first approach was not like, here's a sales sheet, like, here's my prices. It's like, no, let me see what kind of value I can bring you. Like, my goal right now is not necessarily sell you on this, but let me bring you value right this second. Right now, let me bring you some value before I leave. And I remember we went into the Nissan dealership, and I think you sat down and did like these quick, were they like 7.5 minute long? You're like salesperson after salesperson. You're like, boom, boom, boom. Like, what can I bring value to you? Like right now, it's like-minded individuals flocked together, and it was very cool to hang with you.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm looking forward to this discussion. We're going to dive, because, you know, Jason, you guys, actually Herb and Jason Harris, you guys are both marketing wizards. So I'm looking forward to hearing, you know, your insights and some of the deeper levels of knowledge that you have around that. And then I think we'll talk about some of the practical and tactical, you know, how the marketing and the sales efforts can work together for dealerships to help them get better results out of their, you know, better return on their investment.
Yeah, man. So I wanted this is a perfect segue because I wanted to kick things off with, kind of dissecting what I consider to be your main mantra, Jason. And that's, you got to tell the story, right? It's all about the story, and each dealer is different. Yeah. And, each dealer has a different value proposition, but most importantly, they have a different audience that they can actually impact, right? And I wanted to kind of develop that thought, but maybe in a way that's a little bit different, tying in analytics to that. And so here's what I mean. So I've been, with the clients that I consult with, a lot of the times when I'm doing these deep dives, we're looking at the analytics, and it just supports that theory. And, for example, so we got to take control back of our inventory and paint that picture based on what we have available to offer. Because a lot of the times we're looking at like organic or direct traffic, and it represents the majority of your website activity. And if you think of your website as the land of no competitors, because that's what it is, right? When you're on third-party sites or things of that nature, you're competing with everybody else. But when you're on your website, it's just your inventory. It's your story. You control it. And it's, in my opinion, it's your responsibility to go out into the market and get the customers to your sandbox and keep them there as long as possible. So tell us a little bit about that. What are you seeing on your end as far as getting your dealers to do that, and how has that changed their activity overall?
Well, look, when it comes to data, let's talk about data for a second, right? I find that there are multiple levels of, in the dealership, there are multiple levels of embracing data, right? I find that there are people that I call data indifferent, where they're just kind of like, okay, it's there, but, I don't really need to take any action on it or really do anything with it. They're just kind of overly indifferent, right? Then there's data denial, where they actually want to fight the data. Like you'll present them, a data-driven process or a data-driven story, and they're like, no, that's not what happened. And it's like, oh, okay. Can you tell me what happened? Because the data says this. Data says you didn't sell cars. No. We sold cars. Our closing ratio is not that. What? Oh, okay. That's cool. And then there are people that actually do embrace data, right? And they're saying like, I want to look at the data. What data should I be looking at? How can I utilize that information to better my marketing efforts and my operational processes on a day-to-day basis? So I think it's just kind of like, who do you want to target right now in this conversation? Should we target about the people that are indifferent? Should we target the people that are just totally in denial, or the people that are embracing it and would just like to do a better job in understanding? How do you want to roll?
Right. So I love that. And I kind of want to develop that and bring Facebook and social media into that, because I've seen a lot of success with that. Right. So, and it's crazy because when I first started this quest with Facebook, a lot of the dealers were like, no, we can't sell cars. We've tried it. It's not working. Dude, but when you think about it, you can grab the inventory that you want to push, right? You can put it on a carousel or some sort of video display ad, put that out there to a specific target audience, measure the engagement, and then retarget that customer with a specific offer, right?
Sure.
Target those customers that have actually shown interest, right? So I can't think of a better way to talk about, taking back control or really telling your story as far as what you have available to offer. So, and I always go back to, when I have these conversations, I go back to my Auto Trader, Cox Automotive days, because I used to have these conversations with dealers all the time. And they'd be like, yeah, you're showing me all these numbers and the VDPs and everything looks great, but I'm not selling any cars. Why don't you give me the information of those customers so that I can target them? Now we can do that. But it's like I don't know, on this side anyway, it feels like we're slow to it, or we're not doing it effectively.
Well, we're not taking the time to develop a strategy. Like, bottom line, that's it, right? Yeah. There are some dealerships out there that do a phenomenal job of this.
Absolutely.
All right, but there is a fair amount of dealerships out there that want to check off the proverbial box of marketing. They just say they did it. All right, I spent $500 on Facebook. I did it, like, no, that's not how it works. Right. So a lot of times it's just like, there's a lot of dealerships that just want to write a check and say, here's my money, give me some traffic. And that's about the exchange that they want. There's really no kind of strategy behind it. When we think of a strategy, we first have to identify what the goal and objective is. What is the goal and objective? The goal and objective, just creating traffic, that's like old school. Like, okay, cool. That's to your point when you said earlier, where the person said, okay, well, I got all these VDP views, but no one bought cars. Okay, well, all right, let's reverse that, because there was no goal and objective in the first place. It was just simply to create traffic, and the vendor did their job, but the dealership didn't see any value in it, right? Because there was never really a goal and objective in mind. Let's use it for example. I have some 2019 Caravans I got to get rid of, right? Clear out season's already kind of here. I got to get rid of these things. So now we know what the goal objective. There's 7 Siennas out there. I got to move these Siennas, right? Now, once we define the goal objective, now we have to define the audience that's going to help us meet the goal and objective. So is it going to be a new customer audience? Is it going to be existing customer audience? If it is new customer, then what's the demographic? Am I targeting, parents, men and women with, 2 or 3 kids at home that make an average income of that live in a specific area around a school, so I know I get the highest probability of reaching someone that could potentially drive a minivan? Once we define the audience, then we actually have to make the creative that's relevant to the audience. We don't just cut up some ad mat and just throw it out there and say, hey, buy this Sienna for this great price. Like, no, that creative needs to speak to the audience. This is the opportunity that we have in marketing today that we don't seem to take, is that we can get very specific with the creative, in the sense that we're targeting a very specific audience.
What Jason, you just said, it really speaks to me, because, as a special operations vet, combat veteran, we can't accomplish a mission unless we know what the objective is. And in the car business, the objective can't always be just sell more cars. Like, what do you want to do with your marketing? Well, I want to sell more cars. So I love the fact that,
it's like, no shit, Sherlock.
You're getting more granular. You're getting more granular with those objectives. And Herb, I know some of the analysis he does with the dealers that he does marketing for, and it's kind of, what level of testing and KPIs, what does it really take to end up with a strategy that works so you can accomplish the mission?
Well, you're right. You have to define what the end game is. Sometimes maybe the end game is just awareness. I need people to be aware that I have these minivans and they need to go away. All right, cool. That's great. Maybe the campaign is a literally hard call to action. I want people to call me on this campaign. All right, cool. Well, we better give them a good reason why they should actually call you. I want people to schedule a test drive for one of these Siennas so that I can get them into the dealership, have the opportunity to, show them what makes us unique and why they should purchase from us versus our competitors, right? These are very, very specific goals, objectives, but we have to, like, to your point, Sean, you have to define them. Let's use the example of test drive, because it's one that really drives me bloody bonkers. Is everybody's like, I just want more form fills. Can I not just get more people to schedule a test drive on the website? Yeah, sure, we can do that, but what is the benefit to the customer to actually schedule a test drive? I mean, guys, I challenge anybody watching or listening to this right now to go to 10 websites, 10 dealership websites, and click on the test drive button for me and tell me if you see any actual value to actually fill out that stupid form. There isn't. It's just literally, here's a name, first name, last name, email address, blood type, firstborn, shoe size, Right.
It's almost like we're only, when I say we, I mean dealers as a whole, we're only going for that tiny fraction of in-market shoppers, the people that are like desperate to buy today. And it just leaves this other 99.9% of the population. And they're, those are the ones that need value to click that button. And we wonder why there's not more consistent leads and opportunities. That's a great observation.
Well, yeah, and to add to that too, that's a good point, because, for example, we know the data shows that, I think it's the last number I saw from Google was 26% of customers were actually willing to fill out a form. Think about that, 26%. Yet the majority of the websites that I see, their main focus, their main objective is to get people to fill out a form. Why are we doing that? I don't get it. The data shows over 60% of the customers don't want to do that.
Well,
Yeah,
they don't want to do it
put
because
that
there's
in
no
their
value
face.
to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one part of it. The other part is that we're so focused on selling a product. We're so focused on selling a payment, that we're not spending any time whatsoever on actually selling the experience or the value in wanting to do business with me as a dealership.
Yes. Yeah.
On that front, when the dealer is selling the value, when the customers are looking at that call to action and there's value for them in doing that test drive, how does that affect what are some of the metrics that are impacted?
Well, we have a few dealerships that have actually done this. Have gone as far as actually defining out what the value proposition is for filling out a test drive online. And we've seen increase in form fills, 60 some odd %. But it makes sense. It's like now someone actually knows why. Oh, that's why. Look, everybody knows why they should schedule a service appointment, right? Like if you don't schedule a service appointment, you're going to come into the dealership. If you did it once, you're going to get burned that one time. You sat around for 3.5 hours to get an oil change done.
Right.
You're like, God, I'm not going to do that again. From that point on, you will always call in or go online and schedule your service appointment. But it's the same thing with a test drive. There are a lot of things going on, especially right now. It's cold outside. So you show up for a test drive. You're all jacked. You've done months of research and online shopping. You come into the dealership to find out the car that you want to test drive is 3 cars deep and covered in snow. Boy, that sounds like a fun. Talk about a real, energy burster right there. It's like, but we have to explain that. We have to build a value with them and say, hey, schedule this test drive. The car will be up front, warmed up. All right. Sitting there waiting for you. It'll be reserved and on hold just for you for that 2-hour period in which you define so. And by the way, in the comments down below, why don't you let us know how you take your coffee? We'll make sure a hot one's in the cup for you.
Strong.
It's
strong coffee. No pun intended.
That's strong coffee.
But
I'm drinking my closer's coffee, by the way.
By the way, great. That is great coffee. Thank you. I'm out. I need another pack sent.
All right, done. I'm sending it.
Convenient. By the way, one other question. How do you guys feel, talking about website conversions, how do you guys feel about like website gimmicks? And I'll give you an example. So when I was the GSM of the top Hyundai store in St. Louis, we ended up becoming #1 in the region. But one of the things I was kind of proud of accomplishing, we became the top 5 auto hook dealers in the nation. So for those of you that don't know, auto hook is it's a web tool that allows your customers who are already shopping on your website to get a gift card, some sort of e-gift card, by simply coming in and doing a test drive. And I found that it really helped convert, get website conversions. And I thought it was pretty neat. And then, and I've got one of my dealers I coach in New Jersey has added this like Wheel of Fortune thing to their website. And it's very gimmicky, but man, it gets some conversions. How do you guys feel about gimmicks versus overvalue propositions? What are your thoughts on that?
For me, it's more, I go with full on value transparency. To me, that's, I always see best results with that. And, I'm going to, mention a website here that is probably one of the best ones I've seen, and it's called True Worth Auto. So if you want to look at a website that is all about transparency, in my opinion, check that website out, because from the SRP, the customer can pretty much make any decision they want, whether they want that car shipped to their house, whether they want to schedule a test drive, whether they want a payment calculation, anything that you could possibly think of that you want from that, that you want that customer to have. They have it before they even click into the car. So all those barriers, all the roadblocks that the majority of dealers are putting on their websites to capture information, which again, customers don't want to give, they've removed all of that, and they just made that a seamless transition. And the conversions, I've never seen a website get the kind of activity that site gets. So I don't know. That's my take. I don't know about you, Jason.
How do you feel about gimmicks, Jason?
You know what? I think gimmicks can be used in a couple different ways. It can be used in the sense of what I feel like it's more like bait, which I'm not a fan of whatsoever, right? But then gimmicks can also be fun. Like the spin to win stuff is fun. Like I remember when that first started showing up at dealerships, and you had this big wheel and it made all this noise and you had this energy in the dealership, and it was fun to do. So I feel like we can take some of that that gimmicky style stuff that we've used in the past and move it digitally into our website as well. But I think as far as creating a form or a call to action about coming into the dealership, I wouldn't use a gimmick as necessarily the first reason why they should come to the dealership. It's more of an added value to coming to the dealership, which I imagine that's probably how it was structured, or maybe even worded for you, Sean. It wasn't necessarily just coming for your test drive for a gift card. It was like, no, as an added value. All right. Our way of saying thank you to you is that when you do come in for a test drive, we have these great gift cards for you. Yeah. So that's what I think it is. I think it's just not, it's like, I've seen people give away TVs, I've seen them give away the iPads and the laptops and the stuff like that. And actually, funny thing, here in Canada, we actually have to be very aware of this because for us, we can't actually give something. We can't give something with a purchase. We can't say, purchase this car and get an iPad. We can't say purchase car, you get a chance to win this. We can't do that kind of thing up here in Canada because they actually consider it a lottery, because you have to take an action you have to purchase something for the opportunity to possibly win something. So, but I do like the idea of a thank you gift or gimmick, if you want to say, for taking the time to come give us the opportunity to earn your business.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, yes, there could be some benefit, but ultimately I think value trumps anything, right? If you're giving value, then the customers are going to show up, man. I mean,
I think it's an add to it, right? I'll give you guys an example. Actually, one of my favorite ones. You want to talk about something gimmicky? I'll give you something really gimmicky. I had a dealership do a clucking good deal sales event. Clucking. Yeah. And I had to use the words clucking because this particular dealer principal was very, very, let's say he was very, very artistic with the F word. Like, I'm not talking like huge next level artistic, like the word, the profanity, but it was in such a poetic way, and how he would use this word on such a regular basis. It was mind boggling. So I remember sitting in a meeting and he just said, we just have, I just want to run the really, great effing deal event. And I'm like, okay, I don't think I can say that. So let me come up with another version of that. And we came up with the Clucking Good Deal sales event, Clucking Good Deals. And it was a chicken theme. So when you came in for a test drive, all right, you had an opportunity to throw rubber chickens across the showroom. They set up these targets at the end of the showroom, one bigger, medium size, and smaller. All right. Before you got to take your test drive, you got to literally throw rubber chickens across the showroom to hit one of these targets, and the targets represented some discounts, or I think it was something off of accessories or something along that lines. It was super tacky. I mean, ridiculously tacky. But a fun fact about rubber chickens, they're not aerodynamic. So they kind of have a tendency of just going this way and that way and every other way. And this sounds insanely gimmicky and insanely tacky. But guys, I'll tell you, the energy level in the dealership was amazing. It was incredibly entertaining to watch people throw rubber chickens in a showroom.
It's funny. I love that you said that. We got to get some rubber chickens, Herb, for dealers. But that being said, one of my clients and good friends, the guys that own Dealer Talk, right? So they have, they're kind of they're not a third-party lead provider, but you're familiar with John and Bill Schaumburg, right? Yeah. But those guys talk about how culture.
You mean Lot Talk, right?
Lot Talk.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We said Dealer Talk.
Thank you.
What show am I on again?
John and Bill
I was going to say what?
Lot Talk. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, they bought us. Anyway.
Yeah.
But those guys, one of the things they talk about is how the culture at the dealership should match what you're presenting on your website. And, you've got all these OEM factory sites that are pretty, cut and paste and off the shelf, so to speak. And I think that's why I like what Herb what you guys are talking about here, man, because, it's really, kind of matching your marketing efforts to what actually happens when you hit the showroom floor. I think if it's super professional and clean, and then when you go to the dealership, it's got to be the same way. And if you've got fucking good times, then you better go to the dealership and experience that. So what are some of the things that, senior leaderships can do to kind of align their marketing efforts and their sales for? And what are some of the benefits to doing that, in your opinion, guys?
Go ahead, Herb. I'll let you go first.
Oh yeah, sorry, man. I think first of all, it's buy-in, man. A lot of these things, I can't tell you how many times we've talked about setting some sort of either a directive or change in strategy, and there's no communication, right? Like, hey, why are we doing this? Like, when did this happen? And sort of a deal. And then it's like, yeah, man, I mean, we've talked about this. This is something that we've set in motion. And then all of a sudden it just throws the whole thing off. And then once you have this array at the top, you're never going to get anybody to buy into the idea or the philosophy, especially if those initiatives are tied into processes at the dealer. Because sometimes marketing and dealership processes do intertwine, right? They do connect. Like if you're setting certain things that are supposed to, either attract more customers or things of that nature, it can, how can I say this? There can be some sort of alteration to the process in order to make that thing work. And so you need to have everybody on the same page and bought in, and it's got to come from the top down. Otherwise, it's just never going to work. And I see that time and time again where, decision makers are just eliminating things because they're like, oh, this doesn't work. But the reality is that they haven't really given it the fair shot that it deserves, and they haven't implemented it correctly.
And I find, I call it the sticky stuff, right? The glue that kind of holds everything together. The glue that holds the how we do things, the why we do things, all kind of together. But I think we all know what we do, right? Hey, we move metal, we service cars, and we're going to sell some parts while we're at it as well, right? So we all know what we do. I think for the most part, majority of dealerships is define how they do it. Sean, you could probably attest to that more than anybody. There's what percentage of people do you say actually would have a defined process on how they do things?
70%.
Okay, so 70% of dealerships out there know how they do it, but I find even a much, much smaller percentage of dealerships not necessarily know why they do it, the way that they do it. And that becomes the glue. Like, why are we doing it this way? Like, we defined what the how was. We're going to deliver, how are we going to deliver a car? Cool. Here's how we're going to deliver a car. Boom, 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 boom. All right, great. But why are we doing it that way?
No doubt.
Is it because we want the customer to feel that this is a luxury or a VIP type experience? Okay, cool. So that's why you're doing it that way. So ensure that why is giving your how a direction. Or is it like the chicken dealership? I think that's what we're going to call it. It's going to be the chicken delership. All right. Their how, that's the name of the dealership. We'll do that. Yeah. Their how is defined by their why. Their why, the reason they do things the way they do it is because they want people to have fun. They want people to walk out of the dealership with a smile on their face. So they want people smiling. The owner's really big on he's a big smiler himself all the time. Never seen this guy with a frown on his face, always smiling. And he loves jokes. He's just a funny guy. So that's his why. His why is he wants people to feel that energy. So then now his how is defined by his why. That creates that stickiness, that glue that holds together all the processes and the marketing efforts together. So, we know what we do. I think we all got that. 70% of us know how we do what we do. All right. Now we got to start pushing dealerships a lot more. I would say probably right around less than 10% actually know why they do it, the way they do it.
Yeah. I really like that thought, and it's a good transition because I wanted to develop a content model. And I think you're probably one of the best persons to talk about that. Cause you do this on a regular basis, man. If there's one thing that people know about you is that you're putting out content like crazy.
You know why I do that, by the way? Because I think people out there see I do put out a lot of content. You know what? For me, it's practice. I know people think it's kind of weird. Like, Jay, really practice? You have to practice 2,000 times? Well, yeah, I had to practice 2,000 times. I'm in a place where I want to be able to execute content at a ROI level for dealerships. But for me to do that, I have to practice my face off when it comes to creating content, developing strategies. Otherwise, I'll just be coming into a dealership with just guesses, ideas how something could work. Like, I'm going to do all this myself first and then go out and execute it.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And that's that was the premise of the question is I think that there's no denying that we're in a content era, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what you do, right? I don't care if you're selling cars or the lot porter, or you're in service, or it doesn't matter. You should be creating content, and you should be, figuring out a way to present your message to an audience, right?
Yep.
So, and when you think about it, now we have the distribution channels, right? We have Facebook and Insta, we got YouTube, we can, we have our websites, we got SEO and SEM and all these things that we can literally control ourselves, right? So the way that I see it, content is in the center, and then we got like spokes, which are all these different platforms where we can put our content out, right? We control our content, and now we can control the distribution. Why do you think, or do you think that we're just getting into the groove of it within our industry, or why do you think that we've relinquished so much of that power to others and not really taking it upon ourselves internally to kind of become the own masters of our destiny by telling the story the way that we want to tell it, created by us, delivered by us?
Well, I think what it is that actually as an industry, we're actually phenomenal storytellers. When I first got taught how to sell cars, it was telling a story. I mean, it was all about telling a story. So we do great jobs. I mean, in fact, I've had some dealerships I've been in that do amazing jobs when the customer actually comes into the dealership of telling the story of the product, the story behind the dealership, the story of the warranties and the protection plans. And they do a phenomenal job of that. But then for some reason, then they go online and think the only story that people give a crap about is the product and payment. That's it. So it's not necessarily that we don't embrace stories, because I totally think we do. We are still looking at our websites as being digital brochures and not actual physical extensions of our brick and mortar business. Like our website is our business. It's one of the same. Your digital dealership and your physical dealership are the exact same thing. But for some reason we treat them differently.
I heard about to answer. I think it's partly a knowing problem and partly a doing problem. I think there are a lot of nuances to social media, and I think it gets more complicated every day, and it's changing. The algorithm changes every week, right? So I think there's a knowing problem. But beyond, I love what you're saying about the story, right? And I think the dealership as a whole needs its story and its value proposition and the why. Just like you said, because people, Simon Sinek said it, right? People make decisions with the emotional side of the brain, which is the why, not the logical side, which is the what. So that story is so important. But I think beyond that, I think the individual salespeople also need to have their own personal value proposition, and they've got to be telling their story. And dear Lord, if you can get your entire store, and I've got dealerships that do it very effectively, they actually have every single salesperson has their own value proposition, because we develop that with them, and then we help them spread that message across their social media. And there's salespeople that are generating, I'm not kidding you, I've got Melissa Justiano, she's a Puerto Rican, sells cars on the East Coast. We started a Hispanic community growth plan that she has initiated herself with a little bit of funding from her dealership and some coaching from me. And she has built this big Facebook group. She got her first 90 days.
Awesome.
She got 120 leads her first 90 days by telling the Hispanic community that she wanted to help them with their car purchase. And she speaks fluent Spanish, so it was going to be easy and seamless. And it's just things like that. Imagine if you could get everyone on board. So what is the best way? You guys know far more than me when it comes to understanding how to execute. And I guess what could a dealership, how can they get their salespeople or their team trained up on the best way to use social media? Or is it always best coming from like one of you guys? Do they not have the time and they should always hire one of you guys? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is probably going to be the wrong thing to say, because I'm a marketing guy and that's how I make my living. But I would love to live in a world where the dealers are doing all that stuff internally, man. Like they're creating their own content. They're using the channels to distribute it themselves. They know how to do Facebook retargeting. You know, they know how to use YouTube to you know, use YouTube live sessions, you know, use it as a platform to get their information out there. I think that and kind of that's like I was telling you guys before we started recording, that's kind of my motto for 2020, man. It's like we need to take control back of our inventory. There's so many other companies out there that are just, you know, they're pushing us to make decisions in fear. They don't really have the best interest in mind for the dealership, and they're all siloed. And that's the other thing. Like there's so many, and everybody's just worried about their segment of what they're offering to the dealership, and none of that stuff connects to the bigger picture. And so I really think that it's all about the dealers now that we can create the content and the channels are there for distribution. We should be able to take all that back and create our own, you know, translate the message and the story ourselves internally. I don't know. That's just, maybe that's too.
No. You're right on the right track there for sure. When I think of inventory, let's talk about inventory real quick, because for the last 10 years, all right, I've been going to conferences that have been, it's like a broken record. Every single time I go to a conference, we're still talking about merchandising or inventory. Like, holy crap, 10 years and we still haven't seemed to figure this out. But what I think it really blows my way is that, you know, in the 10 years, we haven't necessarily figured out how to properly merchandise our inventory, but we still think that our inventory is a physical car with wheels and with tires and wheels and a steering wheel. But our most valuable inventory are our people, and we do nothing to merchandise them. So, you know, when I'm talking to a dealership and they're trying to figure out, like, you know, what's next steps, I'm like, look, your most valuable piece of inventory is literally sitting at those desks out there right now, and you're doing absolutely nothing to merchandise them.
Oh man, what a great analogy, Jason. You know, it's funny because now I'm thinking about, because I was a used car manager for 10 years, right? So I understand reconditioning it. So I'm imagining right now, like, oh, I just bought a bunch of used cars at the auction, but I don't think these ones are going to sell. So let's not like detail them or service them or anything. Let's not even put them on the lot, like, because I don't think they're going to sell, right? So I think when you have salespeople, you've got to invest in them just like you do your used cars, so they're standing tall and looking good on the lot. And, you know, I mean that in a skill and knowledge sense, not as much as an appearance sense. But yeah, I think I love that analogy, man. Look at your salespeople as your best inventory. That's awesome.
Now let's talk about distribution and like social media and stuff like that, because we were kind of getting in that direction. And then of course I had to go off on that tangent. I saw a squirrel. But let's talk about content, right? I find creating content and understanding social media, people seem to understand the media portion of social media, but the social portion of social media still seems to struggle with a lot of people. But let's talk real quick about, you know, a content strategy and what kind of, I find with dealerships out there right now is that if I go into a dealership and I talk about video, I get this term, this phrase that just makes me cringe every single time I hear it. In fact, my team knows it so much so that when they hear it in a presentation, they're like, "Oh God, here goes Jason. He's going to explode." Oh, that's a great idea. It is the worst term used in our industry right now. That's a great idea. It's literally a polite way of saying, "Hey, that's awesome, but I ain't gonna fucking do it." And so when it comes to video content, you know, we have to take that, you know, that workout type, you know, approach to it. You know, hire myself a personal trainer. You know, just because I got the gym membership, we'll call the phone the gym membership. I got my gym membership. Doesn't mean I'm actually going to use it. All right. But now I hired myself a personal trainer that's going to ensure and hold me accountable so that I actually use it.
So to kind of develop what you were asking earlier, Sean, what do you think that decision makers can do on the training side or the recruitment side even? Like Eric, right, that's co-host of the podcast with me since the beginning, he used to say that, you know, we're getting into this place where what you do content-wise and your social media presence and, you know, the videos that you do and all that stuff, it's kind of like your digital resume in a sense. And the companies that that are looking to hire you and they're checking you out on social media, they're going to look at that stuff, and that's going to, it's going to be, they're going to look at, are you creating content, and what kind of content, and how is it being done, and things of that nature. And obviously, I don't think that our industry is going to be excluded from that. But do you think that maybe that should be something that we should do in our recruitment process? Hey, are you comfortable doing videos? What do you think about, if you were in a position to create content in order to, generate business, would you be comfortable? Because I remember my dealership days, dude. And I remember these guys used to, when it was slow, they used to actually take business cards and leave the dealership to try to get people to come in, with their business cards and stuff.
I was that salesman once.
Yeah. And now you can put a video out there, and you can pay, $10, $20 to Facebook, and you can target a specific area, and you can, get us down to what kind of customer, like what Jason was talking about, the vans earlier. And you can get that message out to hundreds, maybe thousands of people, depending on the metro area, or if you're in a large market or small market, and things of that nature. And so, I mean, I think that there's a lot more power in that approach, but, are people going to be able to do that? Are they going to get comfortable enough to press the red button?
What a great, I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because I think that we've got to do a better job of vetting people. We got to bring the right people onto the team. And if they're not already meeting the expectations that you're going to require of them when you do bring them on board, chances are you're going to be spending a lot of time and energy to get them up to speed to meet those expectations. So if you do expect them to use social media and personalized video and all these things, then ultimately check to see if they're doing it now, man. If they've got if they don't have a Facebook page, and they don't, they don't send videos, I used to then they're probably not going to do it when you hire them. Part of my recruitment process, between the second and third interview, I would actually call them up and say, are you near a computer? And then they'd say, yeah. And if they were, I'd say, okay, I just sent you an email, or I'm about to send you an email, and it's an internet lead. I want you to send me a video. I want you to respond to that and try to set an appointment with me. But you've got to send me a video, and to test them to see if they're willing to do it, and help them set that expectation. And there was people that sent me a video while smoking a cigarette. Didn't hire them. There was people that fell
That's
off.
pretty confident, actually.
Right.
That might be a sign of confidence.
Literally, the guy was smoking a cigarette. Like, check out this car. I'm like, is this real life? He wants me to. I couldn't hire him. But anyway, just set the expectation ahead of time and test them before you hire them. I think that's huge. What do you think, Jason?
No, absolutely. Look, we're in an age where people don't want to be told; they want to be shown. All right, with everything. The other day I was online and I was trying to do something, and I was totally annoyed. I had to read the instructions on how to do something. I was like trying to actively find the video of like how to put this together. And instead I couldn't find a video of how to put it together. I actually had to read the instruction. I was totally annoyed about that. But that's the type of, that's the world we're in today, So do people want to read a long drawn out black and white text, email of yours? Well, a small population still would, and they may appreciate that. But the majority of people out there don't want to be told. They want to be shown. We're in that age of showing. So we need to be able to show. That is an absolute mandate when you're getting into this industry now, is that you need to be comfortable, showing people why they should come do business with you.
Yeah. I'm having a flashback. I'll never forget that slide you had in your presentation in Toronto when I saw you speak there. You had that slide and you had a video counting down, right? There was a timer.
Yeah,
and
that was
there
a good one.
A bunch of words under the video, and everyone's sitting there staring at the countdown thing, waiting for the video to start. And like a minute in, I don't even know how long it was, but you go, okay, guys, how many of you read the words under the video? And no one in the room, like literally, there was like 100 people. No one read it. And then you zoomed in on it, and it said, when there's a video on the screen, no one reads the words. And it was so funny. So, I mean, think about that. Your dealerships, they're competing with all these different, all the other dealers that are online. And if you're not using that video, you're definitely not standing out. And if you are using video, people are going to zero in on that, and your message gets heard. So I'm with you, man. Personally, like video is the way to go, and it should be part of your DNA.
Yeah, and it's funny, and images were the big way for the longest time. I remember when me and my wife bought our first minivan, and we were going to get a used minivan. And I told her, I said, well, look, we're in a town and country. I said, here are the 6 or 7 Chrysler dealerships I work with in a decent driving distance. Check them out. Let me know which minivan you like, and then I'll go and talk to them about it. And she brought back to me two town and countries. And she goes, yeah, these are the only 2 I can find that have the power sliding doors. I'm like, what? Every single town and country has a power sliding door. What are you talking about? Doesn't make any sense to me. It was the only 2 that she could find out of 44 where someone took the picture of the power sliding door button. So, this is not necessarily, and I'm saying this because it's not necessarily a new thing. This has been going on for a long time. We're just now catching up to it. People don't want to be told. They want to be shown.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's get a little futuristic here for a moment.
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, okay. So if let's just, if email was the thing, right? And then it became video, what's after video in your opinion?
What's after video, in my opinion?
Voice, do you see voice playing a part in our industry, a la Alexa or something to that effect?
Yeah, I do see voice playing a role in it, and I am beginning to see the very initial parts of this. Okay, so let's talk about communication, because that's really what we're talking about, right? Exactly. And there are many, there are several companies out there that are offering what I call personal apps. Okay, so you can create your own personal app, and someone can download your own the app onto their phone or their device, right? And that personal app has your contact information, has all your social links, has like the roadside assistance number on it, has a direct communication option if they need to talk to you right away. It's all about instant communication straight to the salesperson from the customer, okay? Well, that is the backbone of creating the voice portion of that. So now I just go, hey, Siri, call my, oh, it just decided to bounce on me. Okay, thank you.
You just set mine up.
I told it to call to set yours off too. I told it to call my car guy, right? But now that's where these apps are coming into play. So I would be pushing it. There are some sales guys out there that are already crushing it on video, like they're crushing it in the video communication efforts, and they're looking for the next thing that's going to be beyond video. It is a personal communication portal with you and your customers.
Oh, yeah, I love that. That's a very interesting thought.
I wish I had some names of the companies that are doing it right now for you. I'm just totally blanking it.
I think that's awesome, dude. And I agree. That would be great. I'm kind of debating, mentally, like artificial intelligence and voice in particular, and how that's going to play into the industry. Because I foresee, and this is just a very raw example, but somebody, I don't know, making breakfast to their kids and then just being like, hey, Siri or Alexa or whoever, I'm looking for a vehicle. And then they're going to start giving you recommendations, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But just like we do with Google, it's in particular organic searches now, we're going to just listen to maybe the top 3 or 4 and then be like, okay, I got it, sort of a deal. And then how do we within the industry start to adjust now so that when that next thing is here, we can be ready, right? Because I feel like, I hate when we talk about the industry like we're behind. I don't think that we're technologically behind within our industry. I think we fail at the implementation and measuring things post signing the contract. But I think for the most part, a lot of dealers are willing to kind of bet with their wallets on technology and at least try things. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, what do you guys
That scares me though. I hate when someone says I'm going to try something.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh yeah, what is it? They're not invested. Right?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Sean. You're like, oh yeah, sure. I'll try it out for a little bit. Let me try this training thing.
Right. I'm like, wrong answer on that. Well, what Herb said about AI, like there's so many AI products out there, right? Already, like Drive-Centric CRM, they've had a sales AI in their system for years now, and the thing now, it's literally setting appointments with customers via text messaging. It's ridiculous. And then there's a new one out. I think it's Auto Service AI. Anyway, I'd have to look, but but I just got a demo from their product recently, and it's it's really intuitive. Imagine this, and Herb, you're a service guy too, along with being a marketing guy. So imagine that the AI not only can take phone calls, right, but it knows when call volume is low, and it knows when you should run a service campaign, and then it automatically runs one for you by calling all your customers in your database. Like, that's what that tool does. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that there is some serious next level stuff coming out, and dealers have got to be paying attention to that and stay on that cutting edge, man. There's no doubt.
Well, and I think that's perfect. And I just want to go over to the voice side a little bit as well. You know, if your dealership and you're thinking about voice and what does that potentially hold for you, then really the conversation you need to be having is, well, am I branding? Because that's really what voice is about. Like, you know, people ask for a Kleenex, right? Well, Kleenex is a brand. It's not a product, but that's what we literally associate it with. So there's going to come a point in time where people are going to want to reach out using voice. Well, there better be a brand that's behind it. You know, if they're going to their voice product and they're like, hey, schedule me a test drive on a Toyota Corolla. All right. There's no brand behind that. So now the system's going to have to default to whatever dealership's around it, right? But if the dealership says, hey, schedule me a Valley High Toyota test drive, you know, because they've done such an amazing job of branding themselves. That's what people associate Toyota as in their local market. They associate as that Valley High brand. So that's where I think dealerships need to be really thinking and moving into the next 10 years, that as technology continues to progress and voice becomes more prominent in our life, that just being a Toyota dealership is not enough. Like, we need to be a brand on our own.
Yeah, you know, I love that you say that, because some of the websites, even websites now, they're having these voice capabilities where you can actually voice, you know, via your phone, like what you're searching for, and they'll pull that up. Dude, this has been such an awesome session, man. I've really enjoyed talking to you guys. This has been really, really cool. You know, obviously I want to give you, Jason, an opportunity to, people, if they don't know how to find you, I don't know, but
look for the orange tie.
The orange tie. Just look for the orange tie. What would you do if I started wearing a green one? Would that just mess with everybody?
Do it. New Year's resolution: wear a green tie.
Yeah. Before I ask my last question, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to tell us anything that you got coming up. How can people reach out and connect with you?
Well, you know, the best way to connect with me is pretty much anywhere social. Strategy with Jason. You can find me anywhere where we can share content. Strategy with Jason podcast. Check me out on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is kind of my home. If you want to get a hold of me, you want to get a hold of me faster than an email or a phone call, LinkedIn message me. It's literally the quickest way to chat with me. What else? What I got going on that's new? I'm working on a really exciting project right now, and I'm going to announce it on your podcast. Is that cool?
Awesome. Dude.
Okay, here we go. Right. Here we go. Okay. It's called Dealership Makeover. All right. For years, I have been putting content together and telling people how they can improve their operations and marketing efforts. Now, instead of me telling them, now I'm actually getting the opportunity to show them. So myself and a handful of vendors are getting together and creating a resource site with just you thought I had a lot of content. Wait till you see this thing. Of just amazing content what dealerships can go to and access to help make over their operations or their marketing efforts.
Wow, dude, that sounds really cool, man. When is it available?
It should be launched here in February.
Oh, that's right on. Looking forward to that, man, for sure. Hey, I want to say a special thanks to Sean. Sean, thanks for joining us. I know you have to run, buddy, but I just wanted to say thanks for co-hosting this deal with me.
Hey, man, my honor. What an awesome conversation. I think us three could go on for the next day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Jason, I have one last question that I ask everybody that comes on the show.
All right.
The question is, where do you see the automotive industry headed in the next 5 years, and why?
Where do I see the automotive industry heading in the next 5 years? I think we're going to see a fundamental shift in our marketing efforts from actual products into merchandising and marketing our people and our experiences and our processes. I think over the next 5 years, that's where you're going to see the biggest change is in the actual messages that are going out are not just going to be about cars, but more about the people in the process.
Right on, man. Yeah, I'd love to see that for sure. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. That's all the time we have for today, folks. Thanks again for tuning in. If you haven't done so, please make sure to share this episode, share this podcast with somebody that can benefit from this information. And that's all we got. As usual, we'll talk later.
Talk later.
See you guys.
Bye,
Thanks
everyone.
again.
Take care.